Street Journal is now reporting that Justice Department officials told President Trump in May that his name was among many names mentioned in the Epstein files. What officials felt was unverified hearsay about many people, including Trump, who had socialized with Epstein in the past, some of the officials said. One of the officials familiar with the documents.
So in that statement from the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, they are not directly addressing the most significant part of this, which is the reporting that Trump was told he was mentioned multiple times in these files.
In today's video, we expose the scandal that's throwing Trump's carefully crafted image into chaos. From his bizarre comments to Pam Bondi's disastrous attempts at damage control, you'll see why the Epstein files are the political grenade Trump never saw coming. Don't miss the full breakdown. It's juicier than a tell-all memoir. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What do you get when Trump's comeback dreams faceplant into a pile of Epstein scandal debris? Chaos. We're talking train wreck levels of mess here, folks. The Washington Post recently highlighted just how much this Epstein business has been throwing a wrench into Trump's Make America Great Again playbook. Trump is no stranger to controversy, but this one, it's clear he wishes it would vanish faster than his tax return.
DOJ and the FBI reviewed the Epstein files and reached the conclusion, set out in the July 6 memo, nothing in the files warranted further investigation or prosecution. We have filed a motion in court to unseal the underlying grand jury transcripts. We'll get to that in a second. It says the memo released on July 6 is consistent with a thorough review conducted by the FBI and DOJ. The criminal leakers and fake news media tries tirelessly to undermine President Trump with smears, lies, and this story is no different. If we go back to the first Bondi-related Epstein controversy, you may remember she held an event to great fanfare at the White House where she handed out binders of what was promised to be new information related to the Epstein.
The problem is, the harder Trump and his team try to dodge it, the more inescapable it becomes. Kind of like trying to shove a beach ball underwater. The second you think it's handled, it pops up again, bigger and harder to ignore. And then there's Pam Bondi, everyone's favorite fixer from Florida, or at least she wants you to think she is. You might remember Bondi as a key Trump ally, or more recently, the PR genius who promised to release Epstein-related files that would supposedly clear everything up. Spoiler, she did not. After making a whole song and dance about transparency, she suddenly backtracked faster than Trump denying that he knows someone in a photo. Her flip-flopping didn't close the case, it lit it on fire. Why promise files and then yank the rug out? It's like she's writing a masterclass on how to make people suspicious. And boy, did it work. Instead of putting questions to bed, Bondi threw a spotlight on the whole mess, leaving conspiracy theorists eating it up like Thanksgiving dinner. All of this comes on the heels of other fiascos swirling around Epstein's death. For example, let's talk about the infamous missing jail cell footage.
Most of what she handed out was already in the public record, but sources at that time told me a lot of the frustration from the White House with Bondi in that event was the fact that they didn't redact Trump's name. That incident, so it tracks with what the Wall Street Journal is reporting here, that they would be very sensitive about any mention of Trump's name in subsequent files.
He says, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him, Epstein, out of his club for being a creep. This is nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and liberal media, just like the Obama Russiagate scandal, which President Trump was writing."
Yes, you heard that right. Somehow, in one of the most high-profile inmate deaths in modern history, a camera just happened to malfunction, and the footage, gone. Poof. Does that sound believable to you? Because even die-hard Trump supporters are side-eyeing that explanation. According to Yahoo News, more and more of his base feel like the government, or at least someone, hasn't been fully upfront about what really happened. And when Trump leans into his classic move of calling everything that doesn't favor him fake, it only makes it worse. The harder they try to debunk these suspicions, the more laughs and skepticism they're met with. Somewhere in there is a comedy routine just waiting to happen. All of this has left Trump in one awkward position after another. Think about it. This is a man who famously gets away with practically anything. People call him Teflon Don because scandals don't stick, but the Epstein connection is like gum caught on that orange shoe of his. Sticky and impossible to scrape off. Why are people so hung up on these files? Here's the thing. Epstein's scandal isn't just a scandal. It's a spiderweb of connections reaching into the world of money, politics, and power. It's not hard to imagine why Trump would want this buried. After all, no politician wants voters asking how close their name was to Jeffrey Epstein's little black book.
President Trump is in the Epstein files. And then just a few weeks after that, 3 weeks or whatever it may be, the whole thing gets shut down. The conspiracy theorists are having a field day with that axis of the timeline.
Yeah, you can be a conspiracy person. I mean, weird is a good word, but how does Elena and Elon know what's in the file? They don't know. The FBI chiefs under Biden and Trump, they know. Okay, Merrick Garland, he knows. Bondi knows. Okay, and you would assume Biden and Trump themselves know.
And yet, the harder Trump pretends none of this matters, the worse it gets for him. Every shrug, every dismissive wave of his hand feels like a spotlight on what he isn't saying. At this point, it's not just what's in those files. It's the fact that Trump's moves scream that there has to be something in those files. As attempts to sweep it under the rug fail, the implications only get uglier. But the real kicker? Trump's problem isn't just the Epstein files themselves. It's his big, bold, unsubtle mouth getting in the way. Oh, we're just getting warmed up. His own words are putting him in a mess bigger than those missing tapes. Stay tuned. Did Trump really joke about Epstein stealing staff? Oh, he absolutely did, and let me tell you, it's aging like milk in the sun. If you thought some of Trump's past quotes were questionable, they're now being dragged back into the spotlight as people try to piece together just how deep this Epstein mess runs.
How is he convicted? How do you convict
Epstein
a guy who's dead?
was convicted in I believe, okay, under Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That could be, am I wrong on that? I don't think so.
The Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were in of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. With you,
Yeah, Bill, I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important. He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019.
And then he was incarcerated, and then he committed suicide. Okay. The suicide thing.
Take, for example, one infamous quote from a magazine feature years ago, long before Epstein was convicted of his crimes. He sure does like beautiful women, even younger than I do. At the time, it was brushed off as Trump being Trump, but today, that comment is like a flashing neon sign begging for scrutiny. In the context of everything we now know about Epstein, it's a jaw-dropper. But that's not the only remark swirling around. Trump's past words are being re-examined with fresh eyes, and it's not just about Epstein. His comments about starving people in Gaza are making the rounds too, and let's just say they're not winning him any humanitarian awards. Instead, they're hitting people as downright sociopathic. Who makes light of suffering like that? Apparently Trump does, and it's a recurring theme with him. His flippant or bizarre remarks, whether about Epstein or world events, are raising serious red flags, not just with critics, but even with some of his own supporters who are starting to wonder what they've been defending all this time. Joanne Carducci from the Midas Touch Network didn't hold back in her recent interview, laying out exactly why this is all striking such a nerve. She pointed out that Trump's habitual cruelty toward vulnerable groups, whether it's children, immigrants, or in this case, survivors of abuse, makes you question his entire moral compass. This isn't about off-the-cuff comments anymore. It's about the pattern they reveal. Carducci argues that these moments are reminders of a bigger, darker reality. Trump's behavior often feels intentionally callous. It's not just disconnected, it looks downright cruel, and that cruelty is becoming harder for even his core supporters to explain away. Ken Harbaugh joins that chorus, adding another layer to the growing public discomfort with Trump's personality. He highlights how the Epstein case is forcing people to confront what some might have chosen to ignore before.
She never stopped, she never invoked a privilege, she never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability.
On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." Over the weekend, somebody at CBS followed up their gracious press release with a gracious anonymous leak saying they pulled the plug on our show because of losses pegged between $40 million and $50 million a year.
Trump's sociopathic tendencies. These are strong words, but Harbaugh didn't mince them. What's becoming crystal clear, he explains, is that comments that might have been written off as jokes or hyperbole in the past now hit different. They feel like windows into the real Trump, and it's not a pretty picture. Public opinion shifts slowly, but this Epstein baggage is speeding things up. up. Even among Trump's base, there's a creeping unease about all of this. It's one thing to laugh off accusations from the mainstream media, but it's harder to deny the growing mountain of Trump's own words that seem to betray his true character, particularly when they intersect with something as vile as Epstein's crimes. It's making people take a second look and wonder, just how much did Trump know, and where exactly does the line get drawn between his self-serving jokes and his actual beliefs? And it's all making one thing really clear. This Epstein scandal isn't just background noise anymore. It's heavy baggage, and Trump's response, or lack of one, isn't helping him lighten the load. But if you're wondering how the survivors of Epstein's crimes feel about all this, well, their perspective is even more scathing. Let's get into it.
Appellate lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and accomplice, spoke out about her meeting with the DOJ today.
On Friday, the Wall Street Journal dropped an absolute bombshell. They are reporting that in 2003, Trump sent a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday that was sexually suggestive. Yeah, it's the most inappropriate birthday gift since Carvel debuted Fudgy the Hung Like a Whale.
For the survivors of Epstein's abuse, Trump's behavior isn't just another political circus. It's personal, deeply personal. These are people who've endured unimaginable trauma, who are still navigating life after one of the most horrifying betrayals of trust. And now, to see Trump dismiss the Epstein scandal like an annoying fly, to watch Pam Bondi, his supposed fix-it sidekick, botch every move she makes in handling the files, it's a slap in the face to victims who are just searching for one thing: justice. Joanne Carducci said it best in her interview with the Midas Touch Network. She talked about how trauma isolates survivors, drags them into this dark space where they feel invisible. For these individuals, it's hard enough trying to break free from the weight of that experience, to fight their way out of shame and self-blame. Now toss in Trump's performance, his shrugging off of questions about Epstein, and Bondi's empty promises to clear the air, only to flip-flop when the files got even mildly uncomfortable. To survivors, it's a reminder that for people like Trump, their pain is nothing more than a public relations problem.
Over the weekend, it sunk in that they're killing off our show. But they made one mistake. They left me alive.
Attorney General for being so professional with all of us and for meeting with us. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, and Ms. Maxwell answered every single question.
We also know that Maxwell had been subpoenaed by the House for a deposition, waiting to see when that will take place. All this coming as the Trump administration, the president himself, is looking to kind of get past this story.
And the missing Epstein jail cell tapes? Don't even get started. Ken Harbaugh pointed out that a massive chunk of PTSD sufferers came to it through abuse. They know the feeling of being dismissed, of being told their pain doesn't matter. When Trump's administration loses evidence or pretends like this whole thing is overblown, it's not just irritating, it rips open old wounds. It tells victims exactly what they've heard their whole lives. You don't matter. You're not worth the truth. What makes all of this worse is that the Epstein case doesn't sit quietly in one political bucket. According to Yahoo News, this scandal breaks through partisan boundaries because the focus isn't just on corruption or greed, it's on child abuse. And let's be real, you don't have to be blue or red to know that exploiting minors is one of the most disgusting crimes imaginable. This isn't some niche issue that only rallies a small crowd. It's a universal gut punch. Parents, teachers, anyone with a shred of empathy all feel the sickening weight of what Epstein and his network represented. And then there's Trump with his easy smirk and even easier dismissals, managing to look more complicit by the day. Now, here's where things get really tricky for Trump. The Epstein case is feeding into a broader reckoning around wealth and power. Yahoo News called it out. People are starting to question why billionaires, politicians, and elites get to skate past rules normal people live and die by. Trump used to thrive on that rich guy who gets away with everything image. But now, that image is turning toxic. The Epstein files don't just shine a light on an unthinkable crime, they expose how power itself has been abused by people like Trump to protect the predators instead of the prey. And make no mistake, survivors aren't the only ones noticing. Carducci's reflections about the isolation trauma brings don't just apply to individuals. They mirror what a lot of Trump voters are feeling too. These are folks who once heard Trump's promises to root out corruption, to take on the powerful who exploit others. Now, they're seeing him squirming to avoid the very transparency he campaigned on. It's opening a crack, one that leaves even his loyalists wondering if they've been lied to all along. At the heart of it all is this growing moral line that people on both sides of the aisle are refusing to let Trump cross. The Epstein case was already gut-wrenching, but for Trump to treat it as an inconvenience, as a headache for his PR people to manage, that's where the real damage is happening. Survivors see it, everyday people see it, even some of his supporters see it, and the cracks are spreading. The question now isn't just how deep these Epstein ties run for Trump. The bigger question is whether this is the scandal that finally catches up to him. The Epstein files aren't just another scandal for Trump, they're a mirror reflecting every flaw he's tried to downplay. From arrogance to callousness, this story lays it all bare. And despite his endless attempts to bury it, the truth has a funny way of resurfacing, much like a certain beach ball Trump's team keeps failing to hold down. If we've learned anything here, it's this: no one, not even Trump, is above accountability. As the Epstein story continues to unravel, so does his grip on this narrative. Stay tuned, because Trump's political future might just be the next thing to crack.